Hey everybody. Just making sure things work, and for now they do. Welcome to Yoga with Simone. I'm going to lead a not quick, but a shorter YIN class so that you have an option to practice, still get it in when you're rushing around, but you can do it in a half hour or 40 minute time frame. And hopefully that provides some options for people that come to the channel, and just also this awareness of, yes, you can have like a shorter class, but exactly the opposite of how I started this. It doesn't need to move quickly or be jarring. It can still really facilitate ease and rest and meeting your body honestly, and more importantly, meeting your breath honestly. Just taking time, pause. So we have a little bit of time before we get started. We'll get started in about 10 minutes. I've signed on a bit early. If you're watching this tape not live later on, you can surely fast forward to the start time. You're going to need a block and a strap for practice. And if you don't have a block or a strap, here are options for making that work. You can use a kind of chunky pillow or like a bolster pillow. You can also use a rolled up towel, which I've often suggested. You take your bath towel and you just roll it up until it becomes the height of a block. So that's that. And if you don't have a strap, maybe you have a yoga strap that holds your mat, like when you roll it up and you slip it into that, you can use that. If you don't have that or this type of strap, you can use a belt, and you can also, instead of a belt, you could use a man's tie. So hopefully something like that exists in the house, in the spot, in the place that you practice from, and probably get yourself some water. You could also do some tea for yummy yin, and get yourself sorted for practice. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to grab some water, and we'll meet back here on the mat. Also, too, for today's playlist, FYI, I said music optional for this class, but I just wanted to let you know that my Spotify handle is my friend Simone, all one word. So I'm your friend, you're my friend. That's the handle. And if you follow me on Spotify, you can then download the playlist for today, and it is YIN Sunday, October 11th. So if you wanted to use that playlist for our practice today, I curated it, knowing that we would move our bodies slowly in a specific way. And what did I want to say about the playlist? Oh yeah, I'll let you know as we go live. I'll just count us down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we can press play at the same time. I've got little ear things to run the playlist today. Some of you guys know that I'm away from my regular digs. I'm not in my Los Angeles home, and I'm also not in my Toronto home, but I'm in a temporary setup in Nova Scotia. So hopefully I'll be able to get outside at least once with you guys and have the ocean as a backdrop rather than a smaller space like this. And just to show you how pretty it is here. But for those that are aware of that, you'll probably be wondering how I'm doing after this vertigo thing that I mentioned in the last few practices. And I feel like I'm back to feeling like myself. But I just wanted to acknowledge one thing about health and our well-being. It can feel like a real betrayal of sorts when you feel like your constitution, your whole setup of who you are is not working according to plan. And I just want to acknowledge that even though I took a break from teaching when I wasn't feeling very well, I still was very much aware of trying to use what I had in order to get back where I was. And so if you're ever finding yourself feeling a little sluggish or unwell and needing to step it back, there may be like a little window of something where you can still either move your body or stretch or sit and take deep breaths. Just something to offer yourself a more mindful awareness of your breath, but also a more mindful use of your body in those compromising situations. Whenever I was teaching yoga at the studio back in the day, when all the studios were open, a lot of times people coming with injuries and trying to find a way to practice with their injuries, those times are actually a gift because you kind of become more aware of your body and how well it works for you and how it needs to adjust to work for you when you're not feeling 100%. And there is a gift in there. You get to know something a little more specifically if you take the time to meet that rather than get frustrated by that. So that's just a little offering there around working with what we have. If you're ready to take yourself into your first position for practice, you can do that. And we're going to start in Shavasana. The great, no word of a lie, majestic pose, Shavasana. Whether coming to a studio or whether meeting your mat at home, just this awareness that you're finding space on the front end of your practice to kind of shift into a place that is a little more peaceful, a little more decisive around meeting that practice. So the less you rush to the mat and the more you give yourself a little bit of space on that front end, the more you can make decisions about how you want to start your practice. Usually space in the body, relaxing the muscles. So your muscles can be kind of bright, like bright lights. The switch turned on to really bright. And you're just starting to move through your body to dimmer down. And then really specifically paying attention to the exhales. Maybe even without taking an inhale, you just let one go. One big exhale out. Heavy body, releasing. Softening in the body, releasing that. Softening in the head and heart, releasing that. For those that are still kind of getting things together, I want you to find your way into Shavasana. If you're going to use music for this practice today, we're going to get started. And so you can grab whatever device you need to hit play. You'll find the playlist. Make sure you're off of shuffle. And on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then hitting play. Setting your device away and making sure that you're allowed to leave that alone. Meeting that Shavasana, meeting those exhales, meeting that heavy body. Feeling the rest of the back of the hands to the mat so the palms are open to your sky. And softening the jaw. And as you soften the jaw, just being aware that you're still breathing softly and slowly in and out through the mouth. And breathing in and out through the nose, particularly in yoga practice, especially in a yang-like asana. It invites a calm into the body, stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. So just deciding to move the breath in and out through the nose slowly here. I'm going to take a step with one foot at a time to the mat. So the soles of the feet touch down onto your mat and you feel the bend in your legs. And take a deep breath in with the knees looking straight up. And on the exhale out the nose, slowly wave the knees to the left, almost like windshield wipers. And on your next inhale, come back up to center, breathe in. And on your exhale, go to the right, really slow, like you're kind of moving through thick honey, so that you can feel the detail of what that does through the lower back, but also the hips. And on your next inhale, come back up to center, breathe in. And on your exhale, bring the right knee in towards the chest and interlock on the right shin without pulling. So it's just the weight of the hands here that inform what's going on. Breathe in. And breathe out. Keep your right leg as is and try and lengthen the left leg, resting the left heel on the mat. And without pulling, you're still not pulling, you're just feeling what that does. The weight of your hand should be enough information here. Deep breath in. Wider through the right knee towards almost the right armpit. Again, resisting the urge to pull. You're just more holding the leg into place. Maybe it's opening up a little more to the right side. And you're supporting that opening by holding the leg without pulling. And I'm asking you to move slow, and you're resisting the urge to fight that. You have a ton of life where we're always racing around. So you're making the adjustment to go on pause a little here. I want you to embrace the pause. 2 more breaths in and out through the nose. And after your second breath, maybe extend the exhale a little more. And from that second breath, you'll grab your strap or your tie or your belt. And you'll loop that strap onto the right foot. And I want you to just kick straight up and rest the arms, particularly the elbows, onto the mat. So you're resisting the urge to pull on this strap. You're just, again, holding this into place. You're going to slightly shift your right hip down and work your left hip up so they kind of even out. And try and maintain that as you point your left big toe straight up to the sky. Externally rotate your right foot so that you're trying to look the mound of the right foot and the mound of that right toe more flat to your sky, your ceiling, whatever that is. And again, you're not pulling on this strap, you're just holding it into place so that you can leg long and push the foot into the strap. If anything's doing anything, it's that foot, that arch of the foot pushing into the strap. It's completely natural as we hold this shape. Don't hold the breath though. So natural that you'll feel a little bit of a singing right leg, a little bit of a shake. Especially if you have super tight hamstrings. You'll just feel that a little more. I'll wake that up a little more. Try and not resist that shake. Just breathe through, maybe extend the breaths. And keep breathing long in and out through the nose. And as you do that, you might extend the inhale for another second, another beat of breath. And extend the exhale for about 2 seconds with about 2 beats of breath. Finding its fit here. And that might also mean a great amount of heat or a feeling of heating up through the back of that right leg. And the last 2 breaths here, try and spread the toes on both feet. And then just as you let go of the strap, don't worry about the strap, bend both legs and just do a little wee hug of the knees in. And then let the legs go long. You might use your belly strength here to place that down, and it's pretty much assured that the right leg is going to feel longer than the left leg. You can just enjoy that detail, feeling what you've made happen in your body by taking a shape. Bend both legs again, put the soles of the feet on the mat. And take a deep breath in with the knees to center, facing straight up. And through your exhale, go right with both knees and just feel that slow. Resist the urge to just make that happen with a bit of rush there. Try and resist that. And then your next inhale, it's got to be a slow inhale to rise to the top so that you can slow exhale to go to the left. And the move of your knees going to the left matches the duration of the exhale breath. And then you come back up to center on your inhale. And you draw the left knee into the chest on the exhale, and you're going to interlock the hands, maybe opposite grip at the middle of the shin right here. You might lightly tuck in the chin so the neck gets long. And remember, you're not pulling these hands, right? You're not pulling on to the left shin. You're just feeling the weight of that inform where you need to go. Before you let into it being deep, just take a big breath in. And on the exhale, extend the right leg long. And then notice what that does without pulling on the left shin. But maybe you acquiesce a bit into where that left leg wants to go. He just wants to kind of hang out and be a little messy. So he might go towards the left side of your body. And you just make sure you can let him find his way, but hold on. And it may be the case that as you do this leg in YIN relieving, you might notice that there's more space. For me, I feel like I'm a little more open on this side. Sides can be different depending on where you hold the weight in your body through your days, through your week. Without putting the leg anywhere, you'll just kind of release the arms. And as you do that, that kind of release of the arms, you'll grab your strap or your tie or your belt. And you just want to hook your foot, I like it across the arch, your left foot onto your strap or makeshift strap here. And you slide your hands down the length of what you've got here so that your elbows can rest on the ground. That's the first step. You don't want to kind of have them high if you can avoid that. You want to rest your torso, body, and your arms and try and resist the urge to pull. And then you're going to shift your left hip down very slightly so that you can bring your right hip up and they get more even with one another. That should do something through the left hamstring. You're going to dorsiflex the right foot, inner rotate the right big toe so that you can face that guy straight up to your sky. Maybe externally rotate the left foot a bit. Keep those hips aligned and then press the left foot into the strap without pulling the strap. You're just holding the strap into that space in place. And anything you run into in the way of tension in your hamstrings or resistance in your body, I want you to kind of find your pathway of breath. For those with tighter hamstrings, you may need to micro bend the legs, but you're more or less aiming for a straighter leg without locking that left knee. Keep breathing it. And if you've got this playlist and you're kind of zoning out on that, or if you're in complete silence, hopefully there's this opportunity to be in the quiet nonetheless, like inside. And it's not that the quiet is completely vacant of thoughts or stories passing by, it's just that you're a little more aware to how your mind works. And I invite you to kind of be with that and look at that. It should make you aware of your habits, of where you go to. If you're the type to keep busy, even when you hit pause. And then if it's really busy, I just want you to count your breath in for maybe 3 or 4. And count your breath out the nose for maybe 4 or 5. And follow those numbers so that you have something to focus on that's a little more true to this pause. Four more breaths. After you've completed those 4 breaths, just as you release the strap, don't worry about where that goes. Just bend both legs, draw them into your chest, hug around. Feel your lower back just kind of above the bum cheeks and kind of try and press down to the mat with that. Almost as though you're reaching your sit bones to the back of your mat. Breathe in and out. Put the soles of the feet onto the mat. You might use your hands to thighs to push that down. Step the soles of the feet about hip-width distance. And then just widen the knees into Supta Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose, supine butterfly pose. And as you come here to stillness, it may mean that you need a little bit of support underneath your thighs with either blocks or towels or propping even your fists. Or if you like the way that your knees fall into space and meet gravity, you can just let them be. And imagine that your knees, particularly the points of your knees, they kind of usher or help out the exhale breath. So every time you exhale, there's something about those knees that feel a little heavier, a little lighter, a little heavier and lighter to the resistance. So you're just opening up and letting those knees take their breath, their exhale breath into space. And there's a kind of center line that opens up, and you can take that center line all the way up to your upper body and torso. You can interlock your hands behind your head. Keep the weight of your elbows doing the same things that your knees are doing. A kind of heavy and light at the same time, just releasing into the exhale breath. If you have tight shoulders, or if you've made them tight in the way that you've been working lately, or sitting your body into these shapes that we do at desks, just noticing that this may be a bit challenging in the shoulders and also in the elbows. I'm going to invite you to practice your breaths in and out through the nose here. We're going to hold this for a couple more minutes. And you might just notice after a few breaths how it might feel really good to be aware of the inhale expanding that center line. Center of the chest, all the way down to your navel. And feeding that center line space so that you can kind of bust through anything that keeps you a little constricted. So you can make the space on either side of you a little wider just by breathing into your center line. You stay deliberate to the shape, not only in the legs, but in the arms. Eventually your shoulders, even if it's just a little, will give you a little more space here. Chances are it won't continue to feel as tight as it did at the onset of this. So just celebrating those wins along the way and embracing them and seeing that there is space for our body to change, to evolve. Maybe the case that you're really aware of your breath, which is a real useful tool in meditation and just staying mindful to the breath. If you've got this soundtrack on, what I love about this song that we're hearing right now is we can actually hear a guitar player's breath. And it's when we're in our prana and when we're really connected to what we do that breath gets a little deeper. So you might even notice that on that track that we're listening to right now. meet that beauty of your breath, and you're really free to get deep with the inhales and slow and steady with the exhales. You can feel how your body adjusts, not only in releasing to the pose, making space for how the breath travels through, the belly getting wider on the inhales, pushing those ribs wide, pushing the lungs wide, making the space bigger. And the exhales in there, slow and steady release. Feeling a little bit of hug in from the lungs to the ribs, to the ribs, to the navel, to the weight of the back body on the mat. And for the last 3 breaths, just kind of notice, without shifting out of your shape, how wide your legs are. If there's been a little bit of an opening through the inner thighs, if the knees have relaxed a little more, take a deep breath in, and on your exhale, maybe let it out the mouth with either an audible exhale, a kind of moan, sigh, or groan. And feel how your body releases to that. You probably feel kind of achiness through the hands. A little move of the fingers as you get your hands out from underneath your head. You're releasing your arms long alongside the body. And then put your hands on the outsides of your thighs. And do the work of helping your knees and your inner thighs close like a book. It's really important to help those guys out. And take a step 1 foot at a time, long legs into a kind of Shavasana, and then let your big toes fall open to the sides of your mat, maybe to the sides of your room. And you might notice that there's more external rotation here, having gotten out of that butterfly pose. That you're changing your body as we move along in this slow but steady practice. And as slow as you can move, I'm just going to ask you to roll onto your side body. Whichever side feels good to do. And staying low to the ground, move on to your child's pose. And use the space that you've opened up in your hips into your wide of your knees. And rest and start messing around with the length of your arms into tension or anything. You just want to soften, even bend a little more so your shoulders relax, and enjoy the relaxed state of your shoulders after coming out from where we just were, where there might have been a little work in the shoulders. And then I always like to especially meet the resistance in our body with the breath, like I'm imagining my lungs are sitting at my lower back, maybe in and around the sit bones, and If I imagine that those lungs are sitting there, when I give it an exhale, you should feel a little more release in your lower back. A little more heavy through your sit bones. A little more weight of your belly towards your thighs, or that empty space in between your thighs. You should be able to get a sense of your ribs even resting, the bones of your ribs onto your legs. And the cool thing about this is if you really give yourself over to a child's pose that's completely relaxed, like really a kind of zero effort, you should be able to even imagine a world where you could fall asleep in this pose. And so you might be in your It's usually when you meet that still in your body that you're able to really play with the expression of your breath. And so where there's movement anywhere is actually inside, in the lungs, in the ribs, finding this kind of subtle way of moving very slowly as you play with the expression of your breath. Before you shift completely out of your Balasana child's pose, I just want you to walk your fingertips with the heels of the hands off the mat and fingertips forward into a stretch of long arms. So this is where you get a more active Balasana through the arms and into the shoulders and into the lats and armpits. And then take 2 breaths in that stretch. Put the heels of the hands down. Get up into a tabletop with your wide knees. Walk your knees in just a bit so they're sitting underneath your hips and curl your toes under. And as you press through the toes, feel a stretch in the feet. They deserve that space. The plantar fascia of the feet getting a little opening. Deep breath in and out. And look forward and arch your spine. Breathe in. And then round your spine. Breathe out. One more cycle of that. Inhale for cow pose to arch. Drop your belly down, shoulder blades closer together. Out the nose, exhale to round. Tuck your chin in, shoulder blades high. Flat back on an inhale, breathe in. And you're gonna step your right foot forward. Massage your hips forward and down into a very low lunge, lizard lunge, with your hands on the mat. Or you might prop them up on a block if that's too much. You're going to start with your hands on the mat here and breathe into this space. And just see about finding, I'd say about 3 more breaths in this lizard pose. And I say 3 more breaths in this lizard pose so that you might decide if you're going to take it a little further by walking onto your elbows. For the most part, your toe, that right toe, is looking straight ahead. And you also want to ground the right mound of the foot there. Mound of the big right toe right down onto the mat without kind of knuckling down. It's just placed down without lifting up so that you can really guide your right knee straight ahead and get a more contained opening here. And the practice here is to really breathe in to the discomfort or the challenge of this pose. So it's a leaning into it. And then you breathe out to let go of the things that seem to be holding on. A lot of it, a lot of the time, is within our headspace around what we think is possible in our body. If the stretch is broad, the sensation is broad, the feeling is broad, you're probably in a real good territory for just waking stuff up. If there's a sharpness to it, more like a pain, then you do want to adjust and maybe bring yourself some support with your blocks or towels, either under your hands, under your arms. And if you want to try even getting deeper in, you might let your head go with a kind of light tuck of the chin, neck long. If there's any pinch in that back knee, you could curl your back toes under. That's helpful too. As you get out from your 30 seconds, if you're on your elbows, of course, you got to step back up to flat hands. And then you want to shift your hips back, slow. And then for this, I want you to curl your back toes under. Lift your back leg so your left knee's off the ground. Step into a plank so that you can get into a down dog. Down dog is actually meant to be a kind of restful pose, especially as you get deeper into practice and understand how to distribute the weight evenly in your body. And so especially coming out of a lizard pose and holding yin poses for a long time, you might be able to recognize a little bit of this relief of getting into this space. Put your knees down into a tabletop. And do one cycle of cat-cow. We'll start with the cow. Arch your spine. Breathe in. Out the nose, round your spine. Bring it to a flat back with your inhale. And then step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. And with your hands flat onto the ground and your left foot whole onto the ground, onto your mat, just kind of wet your hips forward and down a little. So I know we like to kind of resist and we hold our hips into space, but I want you to keep exhaling into letting them go. Stay on your flat hands to begin. Do your hips the favor of coming into this place slow. So you're in the first part of your lizard pose, in your low lunge, and there may be space to go deeper and deeper. But knowing again that this is a practice, especially the yin practice, of embracing the pauses and not rushing through. There's nowhere you need to go except to meet your breath. Find the grounding of your left foot, particularly the mound of that foot, and the big toe. And if you can release into the hips and stay released, bring it down onto the elbows, whether they're resting on the mat flat or whether you're propping something underneath your arms so that you can meet this pose. Meet this pose in dignity with the softness of your jaw and hands and the full scope of breath. Try and let go of your head, or at least be aware of letting go of the tension in your neck body and in the expression of your face. You hold this for about 30 more seconds. Again, if there's any pinching in that back knee, you can always curl your back toes under. Take that away or alleviate that a bit. Taking your head up if it's hanging heavy. Putting your flat hands on the inside of that foot, staying low through the hips, staying released through the hips, forward and down. And one step at a time, curl your back toes under, lift your back leg. Feel your hips go out into that space so that you can step into a plank. Woo! Breathe in. And then push through the hands, hips up and back, down dog. Do a little bend in the legs. You're going to step the right knee, bend behind that right wrist. Sit your bum down. Bring the left leg over, bend, cross your legs. Lots of hair. Cross any which way, meaning any calf in front, but if you followed along with me, it'll be the left calf in front. And you might notice if this is a particularly challenging pose for you that you might be aware of a little more space here because of the work we've done in our hips. Try and sit up straight for a beat. Try and rest your hands or your wrists on your knees. And try and soften the jaw to close your eyes for 2 breaths here. One more inhale. One more exhale. In through the nose, hands to heart in prayer. Hands stay, exhale through the nose, tuck your chin and bow. And do what you do to acknowledge the wisdom and magic of your breath and body. And do what you do to thank that miracle of breath and body, even though there wasn't some huge sweeping gesture in the way of our practice, in the way of our poses maybe. But even moving like we did today is a big gift. Slow and steady wins the race. Feel the grounding of your sit bones and the long of your spine and the softness of your hands meeting for this prayer. Deep breath in. And now we sigh it out. You can untuck your chin and level, neck long. You can stay here with your palms open to the sky and back of the hands resting on your knees for a few beats. Or you can take yourself into Shavasana. Thanks for joining. Stay as long as you can, longer than you think you need. Lots of love. Namaste.